far as the season series is concerned, 26th meeting all time. Nebraska has a big edge with 18 wins and have won the last 6 in a row. The last Boilermaker win was in 2013 in West Lafayette, but should also point out that the win before that was also in 2013. It was the first loss ever at the Devaney Center when Purdue swept the season series. And underway, best 3 out of 5 sets. Oh, that ball missed just out of bounds. Caitlin Newton, who'd missed the last 2 matches against Indiana and Northwestern, back in the lineup, the 6'1 junior out of Terre Haute after missing a couple with a concussion. Here is Kenzie Knuckles, 5'8 freshman out of Yorktown, Indiana, just a freshman, starting at the libero. Giovanna Coutinho, unforced error into the antenna. Back to Kenzie Knuckles, who'll continue to serve. First-team high school All-American. As an all-around 6-rotation player in high school, John Cook was telling us about an hour and a half ago she was really a good hitter, but at 5'8", she's not playing on the outside in the Big Ten, and she is just the second freshman ever, following the wonderful Justine Wong-Arantes, to start at the libero position for Nebraska, coached by John Cook volleyball team. That serve just travels long.
And they're looking for her, even though she is a freshman, they're looking for her to anchor this service reception formation for Nebraska. They've had some struggles so far this season, including their loss at home 3-0 to Wisconsin earlier.
Lexi Sun with a nice pass, and immediately right to the floor to 6'4" Lauren Stivrins, who is a first-team All-American returning and even having a much better year than she did last season.
And you can see the 2 middles, Stivrins for Nebraska, Moeller for Purdue, are both at the net. They'll often be battling against each other in this match.
Stivrins is hitting a cool .567 so far in Big Ten play. Usually when numbers go down, another look, that by number 26 in white, off the edge of the block and out of bounds, the junior out of Scottsdale, Arizona.
And that time Purdue committed 2 blockers, and to no avail. They couldn't slow her down. She found the outside hand for the kill.
Good touch by Knuckles, right on target, and a better response, and a block on the outside. This slowing down Stivrins and Caitlin Newton, number 4 in gray for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, Newton did a better job this time of setting up in the proper spot. That set went a little wider, so the block has to stand wider. Has a better chance of making a positive block touch.
Sun with a couple of very accurate opening passes. That ball dug off the swing by Maddie Kubik, part of the number 2 recruiting class in the country here for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And Caitlin Newton, Karch, a stuff, and now an attack off the left side.
Yes, Purdue was expressing a lot of happiness getting her back in the lineup. Those kinds of injuries, if they happen at a key position, can really affect the outcome, especially in a tough conference like the Big Ten.
Kubik with the off-speed shot, and Lexi Sun, number 11 in white for Nebraska, doing a very nice job with her trip across the back row, because Purdue is clearly targeting her. They served her almost every time.
Yep. And Sun using that off-speed shot. We saw Coach Cook today at Serve and Pass, emphasizing that they are going to try to send a number of off-speed plays to the middle of the court, feeling like there's some weakness in the Purdue block or in the Purdue defense.
And speaking of blocks, Nicklin Hames, a 5'10" sophomore out of Tennessee, almost one-on-one. That's a really good move into the low seam.
Yeah, when you know you're one-on-one, then that's the wise move to make. Try to dive late into the angle more, knowing you don't have a middle blocker to help.
Nice tip. Haley Bush, 5'10" redshirt sophomore out of Union, Kentucky, wearing number 2. The setter taking the play into her own hands there for Dave Shondell and the Boilermakers, who are 3-3 so far in conference, won 2 in a row, Indiana in 5 sets, and then a sweep over Northwestern. And another kill out of the middle by who else but Lauren Stivrins, hitting .404 on the year, also blocking exceptionally well. And John Cook told us up in his office about an hour and a half ago, she has a chance to be one of the great middle blockers in the history of Nebraska volleyball. At the offensive end, she's obviously superb, but needs to be a better blocker as she continues on in her career, now a junior.
Yeah, he'd like to have a little more discipline from her, a little more student of the game.
Not a good touch that time by Stivrins, but a net violation will bring that play to an end. The Boilermakers contact in the tape. Nebraska now doubling up 8-4 on top of Purdue. Maddie Skimmerhorn, a defensive specialist, 5'10 freshman, on to try to solidify some serve receive for the Boilermakers, and that ball will drift out of bounds. Good substitution used by Dave Shondell. Serving has been a little bit of an adventure so far for the Boilermakers. When they lost to Wisconsin in this building, and aces and errors, as we were talking about today, Karch, doesn't nearly tell the whole story, but they had 10 service aces and no errors when they were swept by Wisconsin in this building. Nice swing out of the backcourt by Kubik. 6'3" freshman out of West Des Moines, Iowa.
I like this choice. You can see the Purdue block spread out. Their pin blockers go wide, and Shavonna Coutinho was leaning to her right, got caught guessing the wrong way. So a lot of space to attack for the kill.
Good choice by number 1 Hames, who's back to serve. Last year became the first freshman ever to start at the setting position for Nebraska. Nice block out of the middle. Callie Schwarzenbach, 6'5" sophomore out of Kearney, Missouri, able to put that ball to the floor.
And Paul, she had a fantastic freshman campaign, helping the Huskers get within 3 points of the championship last year. Been a little more inconsistent this year. Coach Cook said with the higher expectations, it's not been as easy to perform.
Wonderful delivery right back at you, Bush. Looking for and finding Shavonna Coutinho. Yeah, back to Callie Schwarzenbach. Last year was very, very solid indeed. Hit 291, almost 60 or 70 points below that, and has been very inconsistent. Actually hit negative in 2 of the last 3 matches. Jazz Sweet on the floor in rotation number 1. Kind of a challenge for Nebraska.
Yes, what we call rotation 1 is when the setter is in right back, and right now Nikki Hames is in right back, so that Nebraska has a left-handed opposite in left front. She's just got blocked, and now a hit into the net. So when you don't have a good pass and the set's coming from far away, it's tough for a lefty to look over her shoulder, and for a righty, Lexi Sun, the number 11 there. So this is a rotation. Now they switch it, and Jazz Sweet is going to the other side, and now she can take that left-handed swing from behind the setter.
Purdue doing a really good job getting a couple of short serves on Schwarzenbach, and she says, look, if you're going to serve me, I'm going to stuff you. You might want to change that idea.
trying to go short.
Schwarzenbach off to a very nice start at the defensive end. Mentioned that she had struggled and actually hit negative, and when you hit negative in volleyball, it means that you have more errors than kills, so you're below the Maginot line. Only 8 for her last 26.
Yeah, and what it also means is you're scoring more points for the other team than you are for your team when you hit out and get blocked.
Not recommended?
Not recommended. You're on the court to hopefully score more for your team, especially as a key offensive threat.
Maddie Kubik off to a very nice start for her first year here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Was on the under-20 U.S. national team, the number 4 overall prospect, and very impressive in a losing effort for John Cook against Stanford. 14 kills, 8 digs.
You could just see Coach Cook signaling zone 5. That's where he wanted the serve to go. They'll pick out their perceived weakness and try to attack it with the service.
A couple of really nice first contacts right now off of block deflections from Nebraska. Timeout called by Purdue. Good start for number 5 Nebraska in front of a capacity crowd again. Expect whiteout conditions for this Big Ten matchup Saturday. Jim Harbaugh and the number 16 Michigan Wolverines will be in State College to take on number 7 Penn State under the lights, 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC and the ESPN app. Saturday Night Football presented by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Michigan has won 4 out of the last 5, but Penn State is very, very good this year, as Lexi Sun, who's been solid so far, like the rest of her Cornhusker teammates, on to serve coming out of Purdue's first timeout. Each team 2 timeouts per set. Nice play on the slide to Coutinho. Mentioned, Karch, the defense wins championships. If you look at the stats before that timeout, Purdue was just 3 of 17 with 6 errors, hitting way below the negative line.
Which means Purdue had scored 3 more for Nebraska than for Purdue when they've been on offense. Not going to get it done here in Devaney.
What a nice shot that time by Kubik. That could have been a lot of problems. Ball was set tight, but the freshman just went up and took care of business, registering another kill.
Yep, and what will happen is when it gets that close, sometimes the block will dive or move inside and leave some space there. So a strong adjustment by her.
Kubik already with 4 kills on 7 swings, and here's Knuckles, her second time through the service rotation. Going back to the slide once again. Good touch. Kubik with a good block touch, and then stuffed in return. Good work by Purdue, a very, very long team. That's Grace Cleveland, the 6'3 sophomore out of Bloomington, Illinois, with her first impact on this opening set. Libero, Jenna Otek on to serve. Combination play.
Paul, a couple of times you've said good first touch, and that's such a key thing in volleyball. Whether it's your first touch at the service line, serving tough and getting another team to have to scramble, or when the ball comes over the net and you're making the first defensive touch, the first reception touch.
Megan Miller, number 3, the 5'6 sophomore out of Alexandria, Indiana, with the service error.
All right, we're going to try, Paul, to follow from the end zone here. Blake Moeller is 17 on this side of the net. We'll see if she tracks. Yes, she does. You saw how 2 blockers that time went to the left to try to slow Stivrins down. And they go again, or she starts to. And so Nebraska was smart because they set away from that stack up twice. You can see Moeller. 2 blockers going left to try to stop Stivrins. They were unable to do so earlier. So well executed. Now we'll get to watch Stivrins for Nebraska. She stays pretty neutral and then scrambles in to try to stop that slide attack. So she's in both. Well executed there by Newton, hitting down the line, finding some space.
Caitlin Newton coming through with the kill. And people might think Blake Moeller, the middle blocker for Purdue, was making a mistake, but not.
No.
That was just strictly game plan, trying to slow down Stivrins.
Absolutely, especially she's hitting almost 600 in conference, so you're going to try and lower that efficiency by getting 2 blockers, 4 hands in front.
Purdue trying to get back in contact, and Blake Moeller, who we were just talking about, right down the sideline. And now it's 16-13 in the opening set.
Yeah, nicely executed there. She threads the needle, not only outside the blocker, but outside the defender. Got to be careful on that, Paul. You can't aim for the sideline because you miss some outside. Got to aim a couple of feet in.
Combination play, wide open net for Lexi Sun, number 11 in white. Sun, 6'2" junior out of Encinitas, California. Beautiful city just north of San Diego, transferred after her freshman year at Texas.
So watch this. 2 blockers go left, and Lexi Sun comes inside and takes advantage of a single blocker who was thinking, I got to go out to the sideline to slow her down.
Now we'll see what happens with a blocking adjustment now that Stivrins is in the back court. Left side, that ball nicely done into the deep cross-court corner. Emma Ellis, 6'2" freshman out of Charlotte, North Carolina, a first-team high school All-American last year.
Yeah, she did a nice job for them in their 5-set win against Indiana. Came up with some key kills down the stretch.
Averaging just over 2 kills per set, hitting .229 for the freshman for Purdue. That's about the first missed pass so far on the evening. And an easy roll shot controlled by Purdue. Can they convert? And they missed that into the deep cross-court corner by Cleveland.
You're right, Paul. That was a really easy roll shot by Lexi Sun, but we watched them earlier today practicing, trying to find the middle of the court. That time she was unsuccessful and hit it too deep.
So how does now Purdue react that Schwarzenbach is in the front court as opposed to Stivrins.
They will not send 2 blockers on her. She hasn't had as much success, so they're just going to stay neutral. Boy, I like it when they're getting the ball to Coutinho there. They're getting some success on that slide one-footed attack behind the setter.
Yeah, Purdue has settled in. Both teams passing the ball very, very well. Nebraska got out to the quick lead, led it 4-1. Purdue came right back, and then Nebraska sprinted out to a comfortable advantage before Purdue getting some points on the board. And now a dig here by Otek. Chance in transition. And Cleveland looking for high hands. And so far, Grace Cleveland, who needs to be big for Purdue, not only against Nebraska, but each and every night, off to a tough start. Now is 0 for 5 with a couple of errors as Sun continues to serve.
And they got the set they wanted to her. She can attack effectively from the middle of the court. We call that a 2-set or a 2-ball. Just a couple of feet high, dead center of the net.
That ball missed. Radical angle that time by number 12, Ellis. And Purdue's going to call their second timeout. And just as Purdue was getting back into this opening set, Karch Kirai, number 5, Nebraska, forces a couple of errors, and they
having another really strong year, both offensively and as a blocker. And she anchors that team. So they often will start with her in left front and try to give her the most chances across the net. And that's what they were able to do in succeeding against Nebraska here.
Kubik again off the inside hand of Coutinho. Registers what turns out to be a much-needed kill for Nebraska as Purdue got back within 3. Very impressed with freshman Maddie Kubik. Again, part of the number 2 recruiting class here in Nebraska. Number 1 recruiting class overall was at Stanford. Number 8 recruiting class was at Purdue.
Cleveland in the middle again and still unable to terminate.
Stivrins able to throw that ball down. Nice sky hook off the set from Nicklin Hames in transition.
Yeah, that's an important part of your offense. You see, Stivrins did not get very far off the net. She'd be better off if she could get at least 7-8 feet off, but she still figured out a way to get the ball to the floor.
Nice play. This connection, as you pointed out, Karch, either on the slide or this time on the gap in front between Coutinho and Bush, has been the best weapon so far for Purdue.
Yeah, she's one of the only people. She's got 3 kills now, hitting, 4 kills now, hitting .429. One of the few having consistent offensive success.
That ball just over the end line, and now Nebraska 2 points away from taking the opening set. Offensively, Nebraska is 13 of 28, hitting .321. Here is defensive specialist Megan Miller on to serve. 12 aces already so far on the year.
Good pass.
Cleveland's timing just looks off to me. She was kind of on the way down, and Kubik again ripping cross court, and now Kurt turning the ball down the line for set points.
Got it.
Cleveland finally registers a kill, going high hands that time off of Stivrins.
Purdue is going to need a lot more of that the coming sets.
Right. Grace Cleveland, who we featured before first serve, is just 1 of 9 so far in the opening set.
And you're right, her timing looks off. It could be, you know, I'm playing in front of 8,000 plus people here. A little fired up to play in Devaney in another big Big Ten contest.
Left side, Kubik again looking high hands. Any mistakes? He said, yeah, you're darn right I have. No kidding. Michaela Fecke was just an amazing player along with Kenzie Maloney. Fecke married.
No mistake there.
No mistake there. She's now continuing her playing career with Karch Kirai's team this past summer at the Volleyball Nations League. Nice play by Stivrins to put that ball away. And now Michaela Fecke, after being married in the spring, is off playing professional volleyball in Italy. That was all last year, speaking of Michaela Fecke, and we'll go back and take a look at last year's championship when we come back. Nebraska takes set number 1. to be continued. And when we met with him, asked him about the aspirations and chances for this year, he said, Paul, we played 3 freshmen last year, one at setter. Didn't think we were going to make it to the semifinals last year, and they were a couple of points away. That was a magnificent match between Stanford and the Nebraska Cornhuskers last year.
And this is both, he's been coaching about 27 plus years. First time he has ever coached a team with no seniors, and the first time the Huskers have ever had a team with no seniors.
Nice cover by Cleveland, who struggled like the rest of her teammates. That roll shot, an unforced error for Caitlin Newton. And part of the reason for the trip to Asia this past summer, to Japan and China, was to bring this young team together. There were 6 newcomers, and Nebraska had spent 17 days in Asia playing some of the top professional teams in those 2 countries. Really helped to bond this newly formed group. Nice play off the top of the block, a kill by Caitlin Newton. Karch, if you're Purdue and you struggle in the opening set, hitting barely positive at 0.59, where do you try to find some offense and also for them some consistency?
Well, one thing some coaches will try is to just change the matchup and have a different server up to bat first. Purdue did not do that, so we have the same matchups, but Newton with a couple of good swings there. And remember, she's taken some time off during her recovery, so she has a chance to get better as this game goes along, because she was also limited from practicing most of that time out.
Again, suffered concussion and went through a very, very thorough check at Purdue now with the concussion protocol. There she is, Caitlin Newton, 6'1" junior, 3.6 kills per set. And she missed a couple of matches, but Purdue was able to survive in 5 sets against Indiana and also took care of Northwestern. With U.S. Olympic team head coach Karch Kiraly, I'm Paul Sunderland here before another sellout crowd. That ball missed out of bounds by Moeller. Wow, that was a perfect connection. She hit it straight down, but a foot wide.
And that's the one I mentioned before. If you aim at the sideline, you're not always going to be able to find it. So you have to aim a couple of feet in and give yourself some margin for error.
Here is Sun working short, getting the ball on Cleveland. Kubik again. Nice transition set by the freshman libero, Kinsey Knuckles.
Absolutely. Not only did you have a good first contact from setter Nikki Hames, but you got a great second contact. That leads to an easy kill for Nebraska.
Nebraska out-hit the Boilermakers 332 to 059 in the opening set. Kubik leading the way with 7 kills. Here's Newton again, covered by Otek.
Again, Hames to Knuckles.
To Kubik.
Sounds like a double play. But you need those contacts, those first and second. The good Hames first contact makes Knuckles' job easier, which then, of course, makes it so Kubik can hit with range, hit anywhere from sharp cross to down the line.
Nebraska on another 4-0 run, and Hames is a really good defender, averages just under 3 digs per set. Cleveland gets a break there. Kinsey Knuckles was all over that, but the ball from number 20 in gray got right through her hands. Grace Cleveland, 6'3", sophomore out of Bloomington, all 33 matches last year. And as someone who's playing out on the pin, Sheridan Atkinson, Karch, you talked about it during the side change. Sheridan Atkinson, the All-American opposite for Purdue, carried a huge offensive load, and now Grace Cleveland is trying to fill those big shoes as Kubik registers another kill.
Yep. And it's easily understandable if you come in here and you've got 8,000 people and you get a little overactivated. So certainly something you have to get acclimated to.
Karch, it can't be 8,000. The capacity is 7,907. Nice dig once again by Hames. What a good block on the wing by number 12, Jazz Sweet.
And remember, they set the new record against Stanford, 8,600 in this 7,900 capacity building with all those standing room only seats. Way to get your hands across the net. You don't want to go high as much as you want to penetrate and put hands into the opponent's airspace.
Nebraska averaging 2.6 blocks per set. Moeller able to tip over the top and down. Just to finish the thought, Nebraska has led the country in attendance for the 6th straight year. We were joking a little. The official attendance capacity is 7,907, but last year they averaged 8,205. This is a tough ticket.
There are people in the very high, just below the rafters, standing room only section. There are some of those people, and you just gotta love it. Husker diehard fans, and really classy too. If they get beat by somebody, they'll wish that fans of that other team good luck for the next matches.
That ball left a little inside, and 6'3" outside hitter Jazz Sweet out of Topeka, Kansas, having a nice season. 5 of 16, struggled a little against Michigan, finding a nice combination here with Ames.
That's why they want to get her to that right sideline, hitting behind the setter. She is much more effective over there as a left-hander.
Nebraska up 1-0, leading at 8-5. Good contact by Otek, and Cleveland down the line is dug by Knuckles. Wow. Maddie Kubik is really terminal so far, Karch.
She sure is having a lot of success. Here's the dig now. Watch those 2 blockers for Purdue dive to the right of your screen, leaving Maddie Kubik one-on-one. Most hitters should win that one-on-one battle.
Tonight after the Warriors-Lakers game, we'll have Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt. He'll have post-game coverage from the Staples Center, plus his picks for the revamped Western Conference and keys to victory for Eagles, Cowboys, and Saints Bears games this weekend. Sports Center with SVP after the NBA on ESPN and the ESPN app. Welcome back to the Devaney Center, Lincoln, Nebraska. Nebraska at 13-2 overall, 5-1 in conference. Purdue 3-3 in conference right now. Back-to-back wins, Indiana and Northwestern 11-4 overall. Marquee win for Purdue in Lexington against a very, very good Kentucky team that had, as you saw, no trouble with Tennessee tonight. That puts an end to a 4-0 run. Emma Terwilliger, 5'5" sophomore out of Valparaiso, on to serve. And there once again is the slide tucked inside the block. That was stuffed, actually.
Yeah.
Our vantage point, it looked like that ball had gotten down inside Coutinho along with Ellis.
And Stivrins tried something. She stayed closer to the setter. She didn't run all the way out to the sideline. That can be effective, except it's closer to the middle blocker. And that time, Coutinho read it right. They put 4 strong hands in front of her.
Maddie Kubik, it's 10-7 in the second set, and she has already tied her Big Ten high for kills with 11 on 19 swings, hitting .474, having a fabulous evening against a physical team. Nice play on the slide once again. Coutinho, 6'2" redshirt senior out of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah, when they have a good pass, they would be wise to get the ball to her a lot. That's a nice matchup, and she's one of the few having lots of positive success offensively.
One-on-one, Lexi Sun down inside as the blockers once again follow Stivrins.
Stivrins, one of the beauties of having such a strong slide hitter is she attracts so much attention. She makes lots of people around her better. Certainly making Maddie Kubik better, and also Lexi Sun, the people who are on the opposite sideline hitting.
Tough swing here for the freshman Ellis. Schwarzenbach getting a piece, and a double contact is going to be called against Bush, the setter. Double contact against the Boilermakers.
This would be rotation 1 for Purdue. Let's see if Grace Cleveland continues to attack down the middle of the court. Looks like she's set to do so, but they didn't have the pass to run it.
Nice smart roll shot once again by Coutinho. Older sister Danielle had a magnificent career collegiately, and now continuing to play on some of your rosters, Karch, and play professionally overseas. A fabulous player.
Absolutely.
Purdue back in this second set. They're ranked number 20 on the year. They trail Nebraska 12-9. Now make it 12-10. Nebraska has beaten the Boilermakers 6 straight times. The last win for Purdue was in this building in 2013.
Well, that kind of serving, that tough serving, you don't need aces every time, but that kind of serving is going to create opportunities. Here's another one. Ball has to go left, but there's a seam between the blocks, so Lexi Sun takes advantage.
We featured Lexi Sun before first serve last year, Karch. We were talking about it at Serve and Pass today. She hit 195 on the season, really struggled against Stanford. This year she's up to 288 overall and 316 in the Big Ten. Fabulously improved. Here is Hames. Shank pass there and a quick point. Nebraska's been serving short to pretty good effect.
They're wise to try to make Coutinho make that first contact. If I were Purdue, I'd say, Coutinho, get out of the way. Let our passers do their work so you can do the work of being a good hitter, a productive one for them so far this match.
Cleveland is dug once again. Lexi Sun going off speed. Works on the Purdue setter, so someone else has to come in and make the second contact. Save for Nebraska. Newton hard into the cross court, but missed it wide. And we're going to have our first challenge. It'll be clarified for us at the officials' table. Challenge, touch off the block, ball in or out. We're being told it was challenging. Dave Shondell is using one of his 3 challenge Nebraska cards.
And Nebraska has chosen to have Jazz Sweet stand in the reception formation rather than Lexi Sun. And they got aced in that seam between her and Kubik.
One of Nebraska's biggest concerns this year, one of every team's. That's up into the scoreboard on Nebraska's side, legally in play. And look at that. Good hustle for Nebraska. Purdue has got to capitalize if they're going to come back and take this second set.
They take a free ball, and Nebraska didn't have to do a thing to score that point. Up, and whoa, bounces back. Way to stay with it. But Purdue just putting it into the antenna.
Remember that play. Lexi Sun again serving short and gets the ace against Otek off the top of the tape.
Well, the key to this play, if you think it's going to hit the tape a little, you got to get lower. Do you see how she's standing up? She's got to have 1 knee down, maybe 2, and even get out of the way in case it pops up and goes higher off that tape. There's an easier play.
That's the second service ace for Sun. And the Cornhuskers, good block on the outside by Sweet to start things and then gets the ball back. And so Sweet doing it defensively, and nice conversion on the set from Hames.
World Championships 2 years between, and World Cup this year.
Short serve once again coming out of the timeout.
Nice touch again.
Moeller is dug, and everything going the way right now of Kubik. That ball off the edge of the Purdue block and out of bounds, and we may have another challenge. Remember, you only get 3, and it's not like your game, Karch, internationally. Once you're proven whether you're that's very close.
That was close.
Worth a challenge,
yeah.
But unlike in international volleyball, we're not going to have a challenge. If you're proven correct internationally, you get to keep it.
Yes.
So you basically have an unlimited number of challenges. Not so in college volleyball. That was right in the lap of Otek. Right side to Cleveland and a better block. Once again, Maddie Kubik, the perimeter blockers along with Jazz Sweet doing a fantastic job for Nebraska, now leading.
They sure are, and Callie Schwarzenbach works hard to get into this play. You can see her scrambling as the middle blocker, getting in as a secondary assist there.
19-12 is the advantage. Well, that was a putt left a little bit short. That looked like me. Lexi Sun with a service error. Time in this set, but not a lot. But an opportunity for Purdue to find some rhythm and get back in this match. That was a violation called for a back row attacker. So Cleveland will go back to serve. We featured Grace Cleveland before the match, playing in the opposite position. Very, very versatile indeed. Nebraska's game plan was to slow her down, and they have done that and more. They've almost stopped her completely in her tracks. Nice tap down out of the middle by Schwarzenbach.
That was exactly what all of the Nebraska hitters were practicing earlier today, to shove it into the space. They call it the donut, the space on the floor between or in the middle of all of those, especially those backcourt defenders.
Libero Kinsey Knuckles back to serve. More on Grace Cleveland. 2 kills on 16 swings. Tough serve down the line.
Really nice serve by Knuckles.
Stivrins, number 26 in white, through the block and down. So in the beginning, Karch, they being Nebraska, were using Stivrins as a decoy. Now they're starting to go to her. Has Purdue changed their blocking tactics?
Well, we'll see, especially in one more rotation when Stivrins is going to be able to run her slide offense. Right now she doesn't, because Jazz Sweet is over there hitting on the sideline behind the setter. But more importantly, Nebraska's tough serving, and that's one of the hallmarks of the Husker program is tough serving. They're creating easy point scoring chances right now.
Third service ace for Knuckles and Nebraska. 22-14, and that ball missed out of bounds. What's the balance that you're looking for between not necessarily aces, but service errors and getting your opponent out of system?
Well, our goal at the USA level is to serve people out of system at least 50% of the time. What does that mean? It means the setter has to run and move a lot to run her offense. And a good pass allows a setter to just stay in the middle of the court near the net. So about 1 out of every 2 serves that goes in, we look to cause trouble. We're not specifically trying to get aces, even though that's a byproduct of tough serving.
There is Miller, defensive specialist, on to serve once again. And on the overpass. Ellis off the edge of the block and down. So a nice recovery that time by the Boilermakers. Emma Ellis, number 12, 6'2" freshman as mentioned, first-team high school All-American. Had 23 kills in the 5-set win against Indiana.
All right, Paul, you were just asking me about Stivrins, so we're going to watch her. Of course, Nebraska on this side in white. Stivrins is going to run across to our right side, and she does not get set. Instead, Nebraska set the back row. See, this time Stivrins with a nice touch. That's another thing a middle has to do, is make those setting contacts.
Really nice recovery at first by Purdue. Coutinho getting a hand on that back row attack. But Maddie Kubik, I know her career has just started, but she's having a big night. Wow.
And a lot of it is Stivrins creating daylight for her. Late arriving middles. Set point, Nebraska.
Nebraska won the opening set 25-21. Ellis into the cross court and out of bounds. Purdue has got to find some rhythm in virtually all phases of the
use in their choices, but you're right. When you have a team like Pittsburgh, again, props to them on the win against Penn State and the other wins, and they're having a fabulous season. They may end up winning out, and so that might get them the host. And it's interesting because Pittsburgh, for year after year, has had to go play at Penn State in the regionals because of the limitations on travel distance. So now it might be reversed. Maybe Penn State is going to Pittsburgh.
Just underway here in the third set. Thanks so much for joining us here. College volleyball out of the Big Ten coming your way on ESPN with Karch Kirai, head coach of the USA Women's Olympic team. I'm Paul Sunderland. Nebraska winning the first 2 sets easily, 25-21, 25-16. And there has been a libero change. Marissa Horning, 5'7" sophomore out of New Albany, Indiana. Got a lot of experience wearing the libero's off-color jersey, is now on the floor for the Boilermakers.
Not a very strong attack there by Cleveland.
And a very strong attack coming right back at you by Jazz Sweet, hitting 272 on the year after having a very solid national championship match against Stanford.
And she's showing us one of the things that an opposite has to do. She has to be terminal, which means that when she takes a swing, maybe close to 1 out of every 2 swings goes down for a kill. Cleveland is struggling in that department today.
Play by Coutinho, the contact there, but missed out of bounds over the top of the block. Through the first 2 sets, Purdue hitting .090 and Nebraska hitting .352. Nebraska, I'll give you their season numbers momentarily. They're good, but they're hitting .289 in conference play, so they're way over that against the Boilermakers. Out of system and tipped up into the antenna and a slow start. If you're coaching Grace Cleveland, what do you tell her during the side change? Because she's a very, very talented, capable player at the opposite for Purdue.
She sure is, but clearly she's out of her game. When you tip and put it into the antenna, that's not something that happens very often. It's not something that's very helpful to your team. But I guess one message would be, no matter what has happened until this point, any player in any match has a chance to write a new story. And it can start at this minute. What time is it right now? 9:06.
Eastern or Central?
Central. You can start a new story. And she needs to start doing that now for her team to get back into this match.
Really nice block on the outside by number 4 in gray, Caitlin Newton. Purdue could use a lot more of that. Blake Moeller's been pretty quiet so far after a couple of nice kills early. Moeller wearing number 17, the 6'2" redshirt senior out of Mississippi. Off the edge of the block.
And that's something that coaches have to track, Paul, and they get to know players. You know, when they're freshmen, it's a little hard to know. But as time goes on, you learn, is this player the kind of player who can play her way out of a tough start? Or is she the kind who will just play her way into more trouble? And so that's one of the arts of coaching, is getting to know your players, to know if they can make those kinds of adjustments.
Tip over the top, easily handled by Hames. And Kubik again having a career night. Maddie Kubik now with 14 kills and also having a very busy night. That's her 25th swing.
And another strong set by Knuckles. She's putting up hittable ball after hittable ball. Of course, Kubik is the beneficiary of so many of those. Good touch by Sun.
And a nice change of pace inside the block by Kubik again. That is a new career high with 15 kills for Maddie Kubik. Somehow I don't think that number will stand for very long. It is 6-3 in the 3rd set. Nice swing into the cross court by Caitlin Newton. And John Cook, the head coach of Nebraska, made an interesting point about Kubik. How many freshmen, outside hitters, are playing 6 rotations? Very, very few. Lexi Sun didn't do it when she was at Texas.
Nope.
Nice pass. Not perfect, but very good technique.
I don't think Michaela Fecky did it.
No,
I think they had to bring her out because she wasn't prepared to handle the rigors of serve reception in a strong conference like the Big Ten.
Crowd gets antsy when the opponent scores 2 points in a row. Nebraska still leading 6-5. Here is Cleveland. Good dig by Horning, the new libero.
Oh.
Nice play out of the back row. There was something during the course of that point, Karch, that you did not like.
Nick Lindhames is doing a really nice job for Nebraska, but she got impatient and she just shot the ball over with what our sport physiologists with USA would call weak sauce. We need strong sauce. If you're going to put it over, you got to make them work. And she just handed them a freebie when she has good hitters on her team and needs to give them the ball.
Look at the amount of time Haley Bush, the setter for Purdue, is scrambling around the court.
Now that play I like a lot more.
That had some better.
That had strong sauce. She put that ball down assertively. It goes down, not arching and loopy and soft. So that's a tough play to defend, and setters need to do that once in a while. They need to attract the attention of the opposing block.
That was some extra hot Tabasco. Perfect pass here, and that ball into the antenna and down. So another error, this time once again by Purdue's Blake Moeller, who was all Big Ten last year and a third-team All-American.
Yeah, the strong sauce and weak sauce comes from our strength and conditioning coach, Jimmy Stitz. So we got to give him credit on that one. We love that.
Swing hard down the line. And Purdue in trouble here in the third. Once again already trailing 2-0. And Dave Shondell, been around the game a long time. He knows his team needs to regroup. And right now, with 15 kills on to serve. Perfect pass out of the timeout and perfectly into the deep cross-court corner by Newton. I have one more question to ask you about our reveal. If either Baylor or Texas sweep that series, are they assured of hosting, assuming that they would win out otherwise?
You would think, as the Big 12 champion and winning both home and away with such a strong matchup there, but I can't read the minds of the selection committee for sure.
There is a long way to go. Once again, today marks 50 days until the start of the NCAA tournament.
And especially when you consider that Baylor has 0 losses. If they were to win out and win both those Texas matches, it would be really difficult to see them not hosting.
Right, and what's going to happen with Wisconsin? Can they keep playing at this level after relatively struggling in losing to Marquette at home, Washington and Baylor in Madison, and Minnesota trying to get healthy at the setting position and at the libero position? Yep. And the Golden Gophers are always in it. And Russ Rose seems to always have a way of having a say on what happens in the Big Ten.
Never count out the Nittany Lions.
Purdue, a nice little mini run getting back into this third set.
Yeah, and you see how low and flat that serve was. That causes lots of trouble.
Hornung has made a difference here at the libero. Nice chase that time by Kubik. Can Purdue take advantage of an opportunity? No. Ellis flails the ball out of bounds. Purdue has had their chances.
Yeah, flail's a good word. When you see a ball with backspin, you know the contact was very poor. So when hitters make good contact, as an attacker, it should have top spin, and that'll keep it dropping a little bit and staying inside the end line.
Stivrins having another good night offensively. More on her numbers in a second. Nice looking combination play. And that is Caitlin Newton out of the back row. But back to Stivrins. Coming into this match, she was 33 of 46 in her last 2 matches. And we mentioned hitting .567 in conference tonight. Stivrins, 6 of 10.
Yeah, they haven't set her much, even though they have served. They've received serve pretty well. My guess as to why is you just see 2 blockers who just keep going at Stivrins. So keep it going to Maddie Kubik instead, and she's having phenomenal success. You got to keep feeding her.
There was assistant coach Kelly Hunter, who was the starting setter and one of the real leaders on Nebraska's 2015 national championship team. Ellis, nice swing for the freshman. They're expecting very big things at Purdue from Emma Ellis. Timeout called by Nebraska. And once again, frustration on the face and body language, and you can see of John Cook once again. Paul, we're not elite. We're not even close yet because we are not consistent enough.
Yeah, he said every match they've had a long run, a 5-0, a 6-0, a 7-point run where they've just given up point after point. And
of that 4-year stretch.
And remember, to be continued also refers to the fact that they have no seniors on this team. The whole team, plus the recruits that arrive next year, will be back. And it so happens to be a year where the national semifinals are minutes away in Omaha.
Control block and stuff by Schwarzenbach, and Ellis could not continue the play on. Number 12 in gray for Purdue.
Strong sauce by Schwarzenbach on that one. If you have the overpass, you got to just slam dunk it to the floor or take a swing. No easy points for the other team when the point should virtually be yours.
Here is Nicklin Hames, a captain for the Cornhuskers as only a sophomore. Combination play, and that ball off the tape and down by Newton. Caitlin Newton looks pretty comfortable, again, coming back after missing the most recent 2 matches. Wins over Indiana and Northwestern, out with a concussion. Has not gotten a lot of help. Newton's got 10 kills on 25 swings. Nice swing and adjustment by Lexi Sun.
Nebraska always likes to see a rotation like that. This is not one of their better ones with their setter in right back, rotation 1. But when you get a pass, set, and a first ball kill like that, you're glad to move out and on to the next server.
Opportunity here for Nebraska to extend the lead after it was tied at 11. Hornung has made a difference so far for Purdue. Really good touches by their new libero. Marissa Hornung, 5'7", sophomore out of New Albany. Experience, she played in all 33 matches last year for Dave Shondell at Purdue. Had 17 digs earlier this year against Kentucky. Good tournament. It's hard to see that. Newton going off speed, got the ball.
Another nice set by Knuckles.
Yep, on to Nicklin Hames, making the first contact.
Oh, that's weak sauce.
Might be the longest rally of the match, kept alive by Knuckles. Bailing out Lexi Sun, who did not make a good play defensively. And then that ball off the block and defense of Nebraska. Very, very nicely played by Purdue. Boy, when was the last time Purdue had a lead in this match?
Maybe early in set number 1. I can't remember.
They trailed 13-8. It is very likely that this is their first lead. Jazz Sweet down the line and out of bounds. Nebraska hitting just under 300 now on the match, but they're hitting only 154 in this third set. A must-win situation as far as the set is concerned for Purdue. That ball thrown down once again out of the middle by Schwarzenbach at 6'5", able to get it over the top of the Purdue block.
And part of Purdue's better success this set is just serving tougher. They're creating some real problems for the Nebraska passers, and that's been an issue. The Nebraska coaching staff saying, look, we have to get better at that skill.
Well, and look at, we talked about the leadership and the production in terms of numbers, but look at who they lost last year. Kenzie Maloney, wonderful passer, and Michaela Fecke might have been the best 6 rotation outside hitter in all of college volleyball. I think you get some argument from Stanford fans.
Stanford, exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
Look,
in fact, that final was a battle between 2 great full-time outside hitters. Catherine Plummer, 2-time player of the year for Stanford, and of course Michaela Fecke for Nebraska.
Purdue with a 16-14 advantage. Out to Sweet, who goes high flat. Jazz Sweet looks very comfortable out on the right side. Looking at her numbers now, 6 kills on 17 swings. Not hitting for a great efficiency, as she did not against Michigan. Both teams with 6 stuff blocks. Ball set too tight, up into the block that time. I think that was a pretty good shot by Maddie Kubik, trying to restart the point.
You're right, a rare setting error or a rare imperfect set by Knuckles, putting it too tight to the net.
Look, Lexi Sun is now out of the receiving pattern. They're receiving with Knuckles and Miller. And Stivrins. Stivrins there with only 1 blocker in front.
Well, what a nice choice by Nikki Hames. Purdue has given up on sending 2 blockers to stop Stivrins. So what does she do? Set her, and she gets a one-on-one matchup, easy kill.
As the pass is coming, so Hames, the setter for Nebraska, is sneaking a look to see who's following who from Purdue.
at times, or she just decided, you know what, it's been a long time. I got to go back to my bread and butter here. Stivrins, who's so efficient for us.
Number 26 is a first-team All-American.
Yes.
She's hitting over 550 in conference play.
Yeah, but she only has 11 swings here.
Right. Well, she's been a very effective decoy.
Yes, and that is all to Maddie Kubik's benefit.
Kubik with a nice pass. Stivrins didn't get a lot of wood on that. And then Newton misses it out of the back court. Purdue, once again, opportunities.
Yep, and they're not getting blocked. They're just hitting some good looks out of bounds. They have a shot to win this set, but you can't give up freebies to a team like the Huskers.
And you remember the one into the scoreboard, legally on the same side of Nebraska, that turned into a free ball. It hit Newton in the back court.
And that's the dread that anybody who's standing out of the service pattern or the serve-receive pattern has, is if the serve rises, it's going out of bounds, it might hit you on the way. Oops, that's why you always got to get out. Completely out of the way.
Dodgeball available on Netflix. Lexi Sun into the cross court, dug by Horning.
Yeah, nice dig.
And right back at you, Stivrins. Middle blocker playing some defense, and Kubik out of bounds. Both teams stepping it up. Purdue is playing much better in this second set. Make it the third, excuse me. Emma Terwilliger coming on to serve and play some defense. Boy, that is a precipitous drop once again to the point that John Cook told us about. Consistency. Nice block on the outside. That's Haley Bush with some help from Coutinho in the middle. 20-18. Purdue down 2-0.
Purdue well executed. Solid block in front of Sun.
Back to Sun. Terwilliger with a beautiful dig into the cross court. Schwarzenbach on the slide. And nice run by Caitlin Newton, but ran out of real estate here at the Devaney Center.
Wow, hope she's okay. Good choice again by Haynes to go to the one-on-one. Ouch. That might have been mouth to a knee.
We'll keep an eye on Newton, who's been the best offensive weapon so far for Purdue with 13 kills. Here's Haynes. Lexi Sun. Purdue's doing a good job blocking, and here against Sweet, who missed it out of bounds. Jazz Sweet struggling a little bit. Again, she hit negative against Michigan. She had 5 kills, 16 swings, 6 errors as Grace Cleveland comes back on.
And if you're a Purdue fan, you just want to figure out, how do we scratch out one win one of these first 3 sets, and we've got new life.
Sun moving over onto the right side. That covered by Cleveland.
Tough break for Purdue. They had the read, but couldn't control it.
Yep, they're going to look at this videotape and circle about 6 or 7 plays and go, that one could have gotten us in, that one could have gotten us in terms of being right back in with Lexi Sun in Nebraska. Really good substitution by Dave Shondell. He brought in Maddie Skimmerhorn to give Grace Cleveland a break across the back row. Yep. And that seems to have sorted things out a little bit for Purdue. Certainly digging some more balls. Jenna Otek, who was the libero through the first 2 sets, she's put on a player's jersey and back at the line. 22-20.
Probably don't want to serve the libero there, and had 2 better passing targets.
The Jazz Sweet, though, high up into the block and is stuffed straight down by Coutinho, along with some help from Newton. Agree with
the block on other parts of the court.
Another block. What a good job. I think that's Cleveland on the outside. And again, change your story. Change your story, and you can do it in all sorts of ways. Beautiful block by number 20 for Purdue. 4 set points. And that dig is missed by Otek. So Purdue needs to make one play to get on the board. Only hitting 111 so far, as Knuckles will go back to serve.
And they still have Shavonna Coutinho available, who's been having some success on the slide. I would expect her to run that pattern behind the setter.
Got to start with a pass. Pass is good, right on target. Left side to Newton. Kubik, what a play in the backcourt.
What a touch.
The libero change has really paid dividends for the Boilermakers. And again.
Oops, set a little wide.
Kubik trying to keep the Cornhuskers in it. Kubik being a little bit conservative. Cleveland into the deep cross court. Nice dig. And ripped. Finally, long rally. Freshman Maddie Kubik with her 16th kill.
Really find success with Cleveland running in the middle of the court.
Set point Purdue.
But they're not going to run that.
Good pass. Cleveland high off the top. Sun is there.
Tight.
That's way tight. That was way over on Purdue's side. That was a setting mistake. Purdue has blocked exceptionally well this set. Ball over the top.
Nice up
by Hornig. And out of bounds. 24-23. Fourth set point for Purdue. They've been passing the ball pretty well during the course of this mini run by Nebraska.
You're right. They've had the pass. They just haven't gotten the kill.
Another tight pass. Coutinho, look at that. Wow. If at first you don't succeed, pass the ball and throw the ball up in the middle. Shavonna Coutinho able to put that ball away into the crossbody corner.
And it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to land in. Coutinho extending it, and they're going 4.
Their only blemish was right here on this floor to Wisconsin, 3-0. The Cornhuskers are 13-2 overall and have won 6 in a row against Purdue.
And this is the same rotation that Purdue was just trying to squeak out the last game. Rotation 2, setter in the middle back position. They made it look a lot easier that time than just flailing one to the corner to win 25-23.
We'll give you Nebraska's numbers through the first couple of sets and how they changed dramatically in the third in a moment. Lexi Sun off the edge of the block and down. Nebraska looked like a big red machine in the first couple of sets. 323 in the first, 391 in the second. 0-77, exactly to the point that John Cook, their head coach, told us. We can't give up runs, we can't bleed points, and we've got to be more consistent. That ball missed out of bounds by Sun. Lexi Sun so far on the night, 7 kills. It's taken her 23 swings to get there. Maddie Kubik leading the way, a new career high with 16. Jazz Sweet with 7. Lauren Stivrins was pretty busy early, but has been quiet lately, also with 7. Kubik, smart shot, rolling it into the deep line corner. Stivrins, number 26 in white, back up front. This has been a good scoring rotation for Nebraska. Good dig by Hames with another double-double, and Maddie Kubik looking for high hands and missed it just a little bit too high over the top of Purdue.
That's been a consistent theme. Hames making a nice defensive first touch. Knuckles putting up a hittable ball. That one going out of bounds, though. The attack by Kubik.
Hames now with 11 digs. Knuckles with 12. That ball missed out of bounds by Stivrins. That's a pretty good defensive number for Nicklin Hames because she's only playing defense in 3 rotations. Yep. You know, Knuckles has 12. She's playing defense in every rotation when she's on the floor. Purdue won the 3rd set 25-23, and they break out on top here, now by only 1, 4-3 on the service error. John Cook telling us that Nicklin Hames, much improved from her freshman year, but she's been struggling so far this year, not with her play, but with her health. She's had some lingering injuries and also has had some illness, so it's been a little bit of a struggle for her to get to 100%. Here is Megan Miller. That's a shank pass, chased down by Bush. Free ball coming. Not even that. That ball shanked out of bounds by number 8, Skemmerhorn.
Purdue is trying to pass the court with just 2 main passers in this formation, but that is, if you've got a tough server at the line, there's just so much space to try to control.
Good contact. Ellis on the outside and gets the ball to the floor. Number 12 in gray over the top. Remember the freshman out of North Carolina. Number 2 ranked freshman class, recruiting class at Nebraska. Number 8 ranked recruiting class for Purdue. Stanford was number 1 if you were wondering. Kubik going high hard. It looked like Emma Ellis stepped in a pothole. She kind of got stuck. Mentioned recruiting classes. Here are the top: Stanford, Nebraska, Texas perennial there. BYU doing a nice job. Ohio State in the mix. Look at TCU building a program there. They've had some injury issues at TCU after having a really good season last year. And then USC and Colorado. Thank you. Stivrins with a kill.
Coach Cook was telling us earlier today about how difficult it is. Any program wants to recruit good passers, people who can control the opponent's serve. But one of the things he said is tough about it is in club volleyball, sometimes a good passer might not pass for multiple matches, and you just don't get a sense of who the people are who can hold up under pressure. And he also said some of the best passers they've had here are setters.
Setters.
He said their best passer right now might be Nicklin Hames. He might put his money on her if they had a passing contest.
Miller will continue to serve. A couple of unforced errors here by Purdue. And that thrown down nicely. Haley Bush has set a nice match. The 5'10 redshirt sophomore out of Kentucky. Experienced after sitting out her first year in West Lafayette, started all 33 matches last year.
And I think setters need to do that. Not every time, but once in a while they need to go up and actually be active at the net, because the next 3 plays that are close like that, some blocker will have some interest, which means a hitter will have more daylight when that setter decides not to attack again, feed one of her hitters.
A serve by Bush, tied at 7. Off speed, easy to read, and Newton crossbody out of the back row. Number 4, Caitlin Newton. A spectacular choice by Bush.
Yep, and Sun did not put that ball where they were practicing earlier today. They were working on tipping or putting the off-speed shot into the middle of the court.
Very tentative swing once again, and Lexi Sun in Nebraska will be bailed out, if you will, because of a net violation. You know, the Big Ten's doing a pretty good job at sending players to your program. Your top 3 setters right now are all from Big Ten schools.
And we have a number of opposites,
Jordan.
all from Purdue. With Annie Drews, Danielle Catino.
Ellis up into the block, restart the point, going high flat, and missed it out of bounds. So your top 3 right now are Jordan Poulter from Illinois, Lauren Carlini from Wisconsin, and Micah Hancock from Penn State.
They've been doing those 3 in particular, not the only ones, but those 3 in particular have been doing a great job for USA in 2019.
Boy, Purdue barely gets a swing. That is really an unforced error. John Cook is beside himself after that lift is called. A break for Purdue, big time.
And if you follow the Husker program for a long time, that is very uncharacteristic for them not to gobble that ball up, handle it easily, and turn it into a quality swing.
Good touch out of the middle by Coutinho, and Lexi Sun finds some room. Sun with a small hole in the block, able to put the ball to the floor. Yeah, things have changed a little bit. You play a little differently when your back's against the wall, and quite frankly, it wasn't much of a contest through the first couple of sets. We talked about the hitting percentage for Nebraska, but Purdue changed at the libero. They started getting hot blocking and were just good enough offensively to get across the finish line in the third. Boy, it gets quiet in here when Nebraska's serving. Cleveland still looking for something to happen at the offensive end. What a dig in the cross court. Horning again, the libero, but missed out of bounds.
Lexi Sun taking a nice high flat dig, but then that second contact, confusion. Purdue has to be better at being very clear as to who's going to touch that ball.
Purdue has given 2 points to Nebraska and maybe even 3. Going back to one tough choice. Knuckles can't come up with that, and Caitlin Newton, number 4 in gray, comes right back for Purdue. Jazz Sweet hitting out on the left side, moving Lexi Sun to the right. Smart, high, flat shot. Talked about the improvement of Lexi Sun carts, but it bears repeating once again. Last year hit 195, this year 288 overall, and even better than that at 316 so far through 6 Big Ten matches. That is a leap in terms of production. Nebraska back on top by 2. Moeller, nice dig in the back court. Lexi Sun with that save out of area 6 in the middle back. And Newton into the antenna and down. Brilliant dig by Sun.
And that's one of the skills she looked to improve in coming here. Just better all-around play in all phases, including defense.
Boy, short serve right in the lap of Horning. Kubik into the cross court. Dug once again. Horning doing a fabulous job defensively, helping to turn this match around. But that ball hammered, but missed out of bounds by Newton. Maybe a timeout for Purdue, now trailing 14-10. Nebraska's gotten back on track, Karch, offensively in this set, hitting 375. Boy, that's so easy. Cleveland continues to struggle, cannot get the ball to the floor, but Kubik can. That one off the edge. Really nice shot down the line by number 10, Maddie Kubik. Now with 18 kills on the night. Timeout called by Purdue. Taking on number 25, Missouri. Back with Karch Kirai, I'm Paul Sunderland. Lexi Sun will continue to serve. Nebraska 5-1 in conference. Their only loss was to Wisconsin, who's had 3 very impressive wins. Nice block on the outside by Kubik. She does not look like a freshman.
Nor is she playing like one. What a strong move she made to stop Moeller on the cross court there.
Big advantage now for Nebraska, looking to close this out. Nice play on the combination and a much overdue kill, and nice play for Grace Cleveland.
That's been Purdue's part of their bread and butter, is setting her in the middle of the court. I think that might be her first kill from that area this whole match.
Well, it's only her 4th kill, Karch, on 31 swings, 31 attempts. Kubik tipping over the top. Cleveland was going to be a key, not only against Nebraska, she's a key for Purdue all season long as they try to get back to the NCAA tournament again. Had a tough night. This is a very, very good defensive team for Nebraska. There is Knuckles. Big lead now for the Cornhuskers. Good serve into the cross-court corner. Stivrans!
Boy, that's a tough swing. I don't like that choice by Purdue just to put it on a poor pass to set high back row in the middle of the court.
Yeah, this became a big impression on you during the summer.
Yep, she had a very successful Nations League campaign and also played with us at the Olympic qualifier in Louisiana. And she too will, after finishing school in December, look to probably play a half of a professional club season starting in January. That's not unusual for people who can finish both volleyball and school in December. There's usually some openings. Unfortunately, it's maybe because of an injury that somebody on an existing team suffered, but there are always opportunities.
Here is Knuckles once again. 18-11 advantage for the Cornhuskers. That ball through the block and down by Blake Moeller. And oh, just by the way, we've talked about the hottest team in the country. Dana Retke, All-American middle blocker, had a pretty good summer as well.
Also spent a lot of time with us on both Nations League and the Olympic qualifier. So yeah, we tried to get more people who still have remaining college eligibility involved with the program, and another person like Breon Butler that we talked about for Texas, one of those big arms that they have, so many offensive weapons. And those aren't the only ones. So they did a lot of developing and did a really nice job for USA this summer.
Catherine Plummer was at the Pan American Games, and she told me a couple of weeks ago that she is going to graduate early and turn pro after the fall quarter at Stanford. So there is a lot of talent continuing to come through the pipeline at all of these wonderful collegiate programs as Megan Miller will go back to serve. Nebraska has been in control of this 4th set. Won the first 25-21, the second 25-16. Broke out early, led it 15-10, and have been having their way right now with Purdue. Nice swing by Ellis, kept alive by Miller. Dave Shondell cannot believe a lift wasn't called, and I think he's got a real argument. And down the line once again for Kubik, now with 21 kills.
He's arguing, but he knows that you can't challenge that play.
Well, I think he's right. There was a bang dig by Lexi Sun, and then Miller was in a very difficult position, but got that ball back up, and he's fighting real hard for every point right now for his team.
Trying to lay the foundation for the next time that happens and get a more likely call.
Well, I think he had a real argument. Short serve, been working all night long, or they've been working at it, but that's the first time to big effect.
Really powerful court awareness by Nicklin Hames on that play. She saw that one or two Purdue defenders dove shallow.
Stanford was completely healthy. I know that CeCe McGraw was out for a while, and there's been some issues with injury at the setting position, but that team is loaded as well. Adana Rollins, Stephanie Samity. They've got a number of weapons, and an old friend of ours does a pretty good job at the helm. I would think you would agree, and Hugh McCutcheon.
He sure does, and you got to think that they are hungry after a very disappointing regional semifinal loss on their home court to Oregon. They had the street all paved and ready to go to get to the national semifinals without having to travel once, with all of those being held in Minneapolis.
Nice tip over the top. Purdue trying to stay in touch and get back into this. Emma Terwilliger on to serve once again. Nebraska with a comfortable 21-14 lead, but more importantly, 2-1. Offense has been turned back on by Kubik, among others. She is now tied with Michaela Fecke for the most kills by a freshman. Look at this, Karch. Nebraska is hitting .514 here in the fourth set after hitting 0-77 in the third. Give Purdue a lot of credit. They blocked balls. The libero Horning was digging everything. Purdue really raised their game when they had to, but this has been much too much. Ellis, nice swing. Emma Ellis is a nice-looking freshman for Dave Shondell and Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue was able to exert a little more service pressure in that third set, and now in the fourth, Nebraska's serve receive, including that one, a perfect pass, is holding up much better.
Right down the line by Stivrins. What's next for the Purdue Boilermakers? They've had some tough matches early against some of the elite teams in this elite conference at Ohio State, Iowa, and then host Nebraska. We talked about that as they cross over into Indiana, who they already beat 3-2, and Minnesota. That ball blocked and just caught a piece of the sideline. Really good block on the outside. Coach, was that Lexi Sun who got it as Nebraska gets to match point? That looked like a beautiful slide play between Bush and Catino, but Lexi Sun was there to close the door. Match point number one, a big lead for Nebraska. Cleveland dug by Stivrins, tentative swing. Nice dig, Horning keeping the ball alive for Purdue. Schwarzenbach again. That dug by Bush. And slam dink. Nicklin Hames, one of the two captains, along with Lauren Stivrins, who made some nice contacts in that rally. Really good first contacts by the middle blocker. Nicklin Hames said enough of this, and Nebraska wins it 3-1. Maddie Kubik, most Nebraska kills.